Hello and welcome everyone back to another episode of Lions Pride Esports podcast. I'm going to be today's host Fritz, joined today by Omega. Omega,
What's
first
up?
time appearing on the podcast.
Yes, this is technically we do have the original two, lost episodes. So this is my third time in all technicality. But you are right. In video format, this is my first on the revamped edition of the LPE podcast.
And now everyone has seen Omega's beautiful face. And today, a guest host for interview, we have Mystic from Team Lionheart. Mystic, anything you want to say here at the start?
Uh, just hello. I'm Mystic, and I play DPS for Lionheart.
All right,
Pretty much
short,
all.
sweet. Oh, there we go. Short, sweet, and to the point. Going in, we're going to first quick recap some of the events that have transpired since our last episode for Lions Cubs inside a firewall. They had two more victories, a 3-1 win over Breakout on May 22nd, and a 3-0 win over Trash Gang earlier this month, bringing their entire win rate up to 6-0 inside a firewall with a staggering plus 13 map differential. And that is absolutely massive.
Damn.
Look at the grand scheme of things.
Wow.
And with, let's say, I would love to have a plus 13 map differential after 6 games.
Yeah, how many? Oh, yeah, that's just insane. I'm really happy to hear that our teams are doing like that. Lion Cut, that's real impressive to be doing out in Firewall right now. So that's good on them,
Yeah.
dude. That's crazy.
So other teams outside of Lions Pride Esports, Lion Strike is currently undergoing a super in-depth rebuild to revamp everything and come back stronger team in the future. Words right out of Soul Sword's mouth. Going up in SR, then we hit Lionheart, and since we have Omega here, Omega, why don't you take away and tell us a bit about Lionheart?
Yeah, LH, I mean, we are in sort of a lull off-season period during this between the end of our Meta League finals and the beginning of CGL. So we've sort of taken a break. In that time, unfortunately, we've lost a few players, but we're going to be bringing a few more trials to sort of shore up the rest of our insanely bulky roster. Since we have whatever, six, I see people saying we have, 20,000 people. So we will be getting, 20,000 more. So that's about it. Besides that, I believe Mystic, some people are going to be transitioning roles. I know Mystic plans to be a support player pretty soon for us, transitioning off of DPS. Beyond that, we're just chilling, waiting for CGL to start and just doing just a few scrims a week.
Say definitely indeed. I will say with casting some of matches, especially with Lionheart inside of it, Lionheart is the only team where it's guaranteed to be a full lobby of spectators when I'm casting. Other teams, it's maybe one or two bench players. Lionheart comes in, nah. Oh, there's 10 open spots? Bet we'll take all 10 open spots if we can get them all.
Yeah, no, we do keep that 12 roster, and honestly, as much as we get memed on about it, it's been nothing but useful for us. We've had so many times where, multiple people get taken out for whatever reason for real life stuff, and it's like, well, we got people to replace them. Let's go. And we run it the same way.
So speaking of CGL, Lionberger is going to be gearing up to partake in CGL this upcoming season. However, before they do that, they are inside of console contenders and are currently 4-0 inside of that league. And their next game is tomorrow against Divinity. So stay tuned. More than likely will be an announcement or a stream link somewhere where you can watch that. And when I say tomorrow, this is being recorded on June 18th. So by the time this is aired, the game will have been in the past. I just realized as I've said that.
The wonder
Just get a time
technology.
machine, go back a couple days, and you'll be fine. All right. So going in, that is all the teams within Alliance Pride besides Leo Arcana, and we haven't heard back anything from them. But I believe that they're just kind of sitting there vibing again, chilling. I think they might be in console contenders. I'm not 100% sure on that. But, all the teams inside of Lions Pride Esports doing well or coming off of, I would argue, extremely successful seasons as Lionheart is taking a break. And speaking of seasons, Mystic, you relatively new addition to Lionheart, if I'm not mistaken, over the last several months. Partook in Winston Meta League, and you were there for Lionheart's championship match this last season in WML. Take me through kind of, you guys unfortunately lost 4-1, but, how were things during that game, and how was the season leading up to that game?
Uh, so pretty much we went into that finals game with we're confident. We genuinely believed that we were going to beat this team. We had all the high hopes in the world that we were going to beat this team, especially after beating Wildcard. And in my opinion, I felt Wildcard played like a better overall team. So after beating them, I'm like, okay, we can pretty much beat anybody because I did feel Wildcard was better. Obviously, it really didn't go that way because they played super unorthodox. They played such a bizarre style that I don't think anybody was ready for. None of us were ready for how they were going to play. And I specifically remember, and to describe it, one fight on Eichenwald, I'm coming out on second point, the castle. I'm coming out the right side. There's a McCree sitting in the corner, and I get flashbanged and I'm dead. I'm like, what? I'm like, who's doing that? Like, you're not ready for that type of style in a finals game. You're not ready for anybody to do that, and really kind of just took us off guard. And especially after losing the first three maps, it's shell shock. We were essentially shell shocked. And we, even though we did win a map, we won map 4. It was more or less because we just instantly swapped our style. We changed up everything about it. We literally went from running rush to running bastion comps. The span of a map. That's why we won map 4, because we mirrored bastion comps. But we have gotten over it. Like, we're fine now. I'm very optimistic for CGL, but losing in the heat of the moment, it's very rough.
Yeah, understandable, especially in a high stakes game, such as a championship match. It's always a crusher to lose. On the flip side, you gotta think about the fact that you, as a team, got all the way to the championship match. Only 2 people in each tier and season ever are able to say that they did that. So I mean, definitely some pride to be had in that. So kind of rotating here, as you mentioned earlier, making the switch from DPS onto support. Is that a personal decision? Is that for the betterment of the team? What led you to make that decision?
I feel it more as a personal decision for me because I've been truly lacking confidence on DPS. Like, I genuinely feel like I've been struggling on DPS recently. It might be because of mechanics, game sense, and all that. Like, I just feel like I have not played anywhere near my best on DPS. But then when I'm always on support, I feel like I can do a lot more because Omega knows I'm a very vocal player. I like to talk. Talking is something that I definitely have as a skill. So when I don't get to talk, like on DPS, I don't really talk a lot. It kind of limits me in my opinion because I truly believe I can play my best when I'm able to talk, and support truly is that role where I can just talk.
It's absolute sense. I mean, as a support player, you see everything that occurs in front of you. It's not like a tank is typically a primary shot caller, right? You see, like you have to decide where to go. You gotta make split-second decisions. But supports, you actually get to see the whole picture, and sometimes you get to rein in the tank player. God forbid you have to do that to any of the Lionheart tanks. But you know, how is that going to be? Do you think transitioning from DPS to support with having to synergize with Drunk, King, and Night Owls on the Lionheart tank line?
Oh, I already know how most of them play because I have played. I did have one map on me with on support just to test it, like couple weeks ago. Like, not, it's actually been like almost close to a month and a half ago. But I already know Drunk's style because I play a lot with Diablo, and Diablo and Drunk they have the exact same style. So I know how Drunk plays already, and I know how King plays and all that. That's not really the part I'm worried about. I'm more or less worried about synergizing with my other support in the DPS. That's the part that I got to make sure I get that down because I know how all the tanks play it already because DPS player, you gotta. When I was on DPS, I'm trying to synergize with them for dives. I'm trying to make sure I'm pushing in when they make space for me, like all that stuff. It's a lot easier to synergize with tanks as a DPS than it is to synergize with supports. Now it's about me synergizing with DPS players, like because you don't really have to synergize with your second DPS that well unless like you're in a dive comp. Like if we're running like a hit scan comp with a flanker, like if Omega's on Ashe for example, and I'm on Tracer, like we're gonna be doing our own thing most of the time. Now it's about me making sure I'm synergized with them along with my other support.
That makes a lot of
Also,
sense.
I would say, I think it's also, I think supports in this meta feel like they control the pace of the game more. And I think Eco in general has always been sort of the player to enjoy those type of roles. So yeah, I'm really excited to see him changing into that role because I've also think for other Lionheart players, specifically like me, I went from main tank to DPS, and I think when we like switch those roles and when like we really want to, like we just do we do when we play a lot better with them. So I'm happy that Mystic wanted to make this change. So from both a friend and a manager point of view, but also sad about not being my DPS partner anymore, and now that I have to synergize with an entirely new trial that we pick up. So thanks for that, bud.
No problem. I got you.
I mean, that always, it's always an interesting thing to look at between teams is, teams that return a heart of a roster from one season to the next. Like, example, Lionheart tank line. I really can't picture Lionheart tanking with people really other than what they got. Echo, of course, forgot to include him in before Echo was part of that tank line, obviously. Um, but just looking at how, like, just switching up one DPS player, how much of a difference that makes in a team, just from a synergy perspective, then also how that team chooses to succeed with that DPS as well. Or it could be the unfortunate opposite outcome where it just doesn't pan out as well.
Hmm.
Obviously, the hope is for it to pan out in the benefit in this situation. Um, is there any worries that you have, Mystic, about you swapping onto the support role?
Oh, no doubt. I do have my doubts about because I tend to play super aggressive on support. Like down Lucio, if I see a 1 HP target, I'm gonna make it my mission to go get them. And if like the team's not ready for that level of aggression, I'm gonna have to make sure I make rein in myself with that aggression. I can't like get overextended. I can't get caught out. I can't like get picked off first every fight. I got to make sure that that's all solved because of how aggressive of a player I am. Because on DPS, like I'd always be aggressive, like, and I get caught out a lot. I'm not gonna lie on that one, but on support, you really can't get caught out because then that jeopardizes winning team fights. So I got to make sure that that's reined in. But besides that, synergizing with the support is really the only other main worry I have. But synergizing the tanks is fine. I've been on multiple teams with Echo. Like I know what he's gonna do before he does it. The thing with me and Echo is I know what he's gonna do, and I'm gonna be ready for it.
That's always a nice feeling to have, especially with the tank and support duo. Because if it's support, you know that your tank's going to go aggro, you can already, if you're on it, you can chuck that nade on as soon as he starts going forward just to amp the healing, or be ready to sleep dart the other Ryan when drops shield, or be ready to discord, or whatever it is, each support obviously having that role within the team. So, Mystic, kind of, more of a fun question here. If you're playing Torbjorn hammer only, and Omega is playing Lucio speed only, who wins?
That's a good one. I'd say Omega.
I
Do the nutcase on Lucio. I'd say that's Omega instantly.
I would disagree. I think people overestimate my skill. As much as I appreciate, I think people overestimate my skills in most other roles beyond just playing Ashe and playing Reinhardt. My Lucio, I don't think I could wall ride around far enough for him to not just kill me with a hammer. I'm pretty sure I'm a bad enough Lucio where I would die in that situation. Or Mystic is also maybe godlike at a Torb hammer too. He just hits all those shots.
But here's the thing, Omega's always been my kryptonite. In any 1v1 we do, he always somehow manages to beat me every time. Nobody else can consistently beat me like all the time. Omega just has my number. He every time we 1v1, he just calls that number instantly and beats me.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So, Mystic, I personally have no further questions for you. Omega, do you have anything?
No, I mean he's my team. I know pretty well. Nothing that nothing I don't already know or don't want to expose him on. In terms of
Like, oh
teammate
God.
banter. But no, I've got nothing else for Mystic. It was a great time talking to him. He's my teammate. I obviously enjoy the guy. Great player, but not my DPS partner anymore. So I guess I can treat him a little more poorly than normal.
I need healing.
Yeah. I'm not
God,
gonna
he's
get
gonna
heals
spam
anymore.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, no healing for you now.
I'm just gonna run in. I'm just gonna see him. Just everyone else. Just call away from me. Just be like, oh, Omega's going right. Go left, guys. All right, rotate left.
All right. Well, Mystic, once again, thank you for joining us for this interview today for the Lions Pride podcast. And hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm excited to see you in a new role inside of Lionheart.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
See See you, Mystic.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to transition into more the overall Overwatch update side of things that have occurred, and a lot of big changes have occurred in just the last month.
Hell yeah.
So I guess simplest place to start, first news first, Overwatch 2 switching to 5v5. You know, biggest thing I can think of is, especially within Lions Pride Esports, the big thing I think of when I think of a team, especially like Lionheart, is tank play and just a tank synergy between them. And we're not going to see that anymore. Omega, what do you think we're going to be seeing, you know, especially in teams like Lionheart, where it's a lot built on just tanks working together and being able to mesh well, and only being able to have one tank going into team fights?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a detriment. I'd also like to see, I guess, how that. I haven't seen too much of the 5v5, so that is just entirely for PvP? Or is that only the PvE side?
That would be PvP is what they announced
Okay,
it for.
PvP is what they announced for. Okay, so I would think so. I play a little bit of World of Warcraft, and in that sort of PvP system, it's 5 people as well, and it's 1 tank, 3 DPS, and 1 healer. So I'm not sure if I don't know if anyone's talked about that yet. I've heard a lot of just like, obviously because we're OW players, cut the tank, one tank, 2 deeps, and 2 support. But I actually think it might be that 3 deep sort of option. So I think tank players might have to start learning how to aim a little, more. I think would be my advice. But honestly, just for synergy wise, it's that's a lot of what Lionheart is based around, is that tank line and that front line just being entirely just with it. So I think it'll probably hurt us a lot unless one of our tanks, becomes a star DPS, if that happens, or a support. But yeah, I do think that'll be a rough for us in general. As a DPS, though, I am thankfully unaffected. So yeah. How about you, Fritz? What do you feel about it, just from a casting standpoint? How do you think not having another tank in the game will sort of change the pace of the game?
So I definitely feel with only one tank, that's going to create a lot more quicker engagements because you don't have the health pool that you had anymore. Also, the ultimate usage will go way down again because you don't have the health pool available for a DPS to farm their ult off of while the support's healing it. That being said, the tank, because there's only one of it now for the supports to kind of focus on. Obviously, supports need to heal everyone, but a tank is typically the main forces due to taking aggro. I think tanks are going to see a little bit longer life with it as well, potentially.
Mm.
But it's going to be a lot of high burst damage, being able to just isolate and kill a tank. That's going to result in quick team fights and quicker engagements. As also, if a team fight happens, let's say it's a Ryan Zarya Brawl mirror comp currently being run, right? So let's say May Reaper, let's go Lucio Ana.
Lucio
Or
Ana,
Lucio
okay.
Moira. Yeah. Yep. So whatever it be. They're going in. If the Reinhardt dies, that's typically, not a good sign for the team.
Mm-hmm.
But the Zarya, if it has enough energy and there's still some cooldowns available, they still can bring it back and win that fight. You running that same engagement, drop the Zarya from each team comp, you only have a Reinhardt now. That Reinhardt dies, and the team's going to get wiped, almost certainly. Unless if there's, Mayblade available or some big ultimate such as that they can capitalize on. So we see a lot of quicker engagements, I think, and the TTK is going to go way down, even on console, in my opinion. Just being able to quickly finish up team fights and end it. I'm personally not a fan of it, in my opinion, but again, wait to see what happens, because I also know that they're changing a lot of other mechanics, such as reduced ult rate charge for even killing tanks, as well as a DPS speed buff, and supports just naturally being able to heal on their own, which I feel is actually a good quality of life improvement for support players.
Yeah, no, I think support players are probably cheering a lot. It's not. Yeah, they don't have to worry about that extra die from a diva, for that extra peel or anything. So, or for that extra, for that extra peel. So, yeah, they have their own. Yeah, that's true. They have all their own defenses.
I am excited, though, when you see a Lucio speed boost, a sprinting soldier, just how fast that thing's going to go. Because I don't know if the speed stacks or not, but I know that's something I don't think they've officially released that detail yet, other than the soldier sprint will be faster than the natural movement anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be fun to engage on though. Just that speed boost soldier and just run into the backline. Maybe we'll see some backline Reaper soldier sort of play styles, especially with the lacks of tanks as well.
Yep.
But yeah, just that more aggression. I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm a Deeps player. I'm biased. I'll probably. I mean, it's Overwatch. I'll play it anyways.
You're just
Probably.
excited for the shorter queue time. That's what you're excited for.
That's exactly what I'm. That's very true. That is almost 100% why. Yeah, I don't play a lot of on my main account anymore for DPS. It's just too long queue times. So I didn't even think about that. I had not Fritz. I had not even thought about that. But now you got me grinning.
Well, unfortunately, I'm looking at it also biased as like a tank main perspective.
Mm.
You know, now the team when you're just on the ladder, so team seeing and league seeing ignored. If you're just climbing on the ladder, the better tank will show in almost every game now. In my opinion, a tank is now going to be more capable of carrying a game in solo queue than it was previously.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you're able to isolate and kill the other tank, if you have a Widow on your team or any sort of hit scan, it's over. Like, you just won.
Mm-hmm.
But on that being said, if you're having a bad day as tank, your SR is going to suffer drastically because of it. You can't rely on your other tank to bail you out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is going to be that sort of boom bust sort of just inherently in the tank playstyle, which is having that one tank. Yeah. But again, as I said, it could be one support too. I don't know if they've said specifically it's going to be 2-2-1 because it could be 1-3-1. So it could be supports too. Yeah.
At this point in time, they are saying 1-2-2.
Okay.
So one tank, 2 DPS, 2 support.
Gotcha.
That is what I don't think it's technically beta yet. So what the alpha gameplay footage has shown for Overwatch 2, from the devs.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that live stream, and it was a lot of quicker engagements. And the thing is also, a flanking Roadhog is no longer a flanking Roadhog. That's not the way your team kind of goes.
You kind of get screwed over now with that sort of play style. So hopefully, maybe that'll encourage better team play then, than just solo queue warlords, or at least. Mm-hmm. Yeah, better. Well, tanks can solo queue warlord, but for those DPS who try to solo carry, it'll probably make it easier for us to less pressure. Yeah, for that for having to carry.
Oh yeah. Yep. So that being said, so Overwatch 2 having a lot of changes coming through potentially. Obviously, nothing's set in stone, but that's currently what the devs have worked out right now. But along those same lines, major changes, especially. SR side of things I'll get to in a little bit, is the announcement that as of July 1st, crossplay will be enabled between all Overwatch users. Just console for the competitive ladder and PC will be separate, but inside of quick play, if you are playing on a console queued with a PC player, you can queue with a PC player and go into a console and PC mixed lobby. Omega, that's massive news. I would argue, especially on the console side of things, something that we've wanted, just being able to play PlayStation against Xbox for the longest time. What are your thoughts with that? Just how it's going to impact the game?
I mean, I'm excited for sure. It's probably one of the better things that come out. I think since even like the 360, early gamer stuff, like we've always wanted to have, playing against people on other consoles. And it's like, why couldn't we have that? And then we had that sort of with Fortnite. And then with some of the Call of Duties, and now that it's finally coming to Overwatch/Overwatch 2, it's just really exciting having a whole new base of players who, we can sort of test our skill against, and also for the bragging rights of like PS4 versus Xbox One, or just Microsoft versus Sony, we can sort of settle that once and for all in the Overwatch ring. So I'm really excited for that as well. That personally, I think I played on both consoles. I find that PS4 is a little bit more competitive in the higher elos, so I'm just excited to smurf, I guess, too, maybe, and then just, have some fun with O-dubs. Oh, how about you, Fritz? What about you? What's your general?
So I'm a little bit in the lower SR than you. I say I'm not a Masters player at all, not even close. But I know just because I've been able to cast some Xbox games that were streamed through Discord that I've been able to look at. And I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how it also shakes up at the competitive ladder, especially, since Xbox also has issues like DDoSing and other things as well that PlayStation hasn't had, at all. Well, I mean, it has, but not near the extent that Xbox
Yeah,
has.
yeah.
So it's gonna be some new challenges. We haven't mentioned it yet, but reminder: Switch is included inside of those console players as well. So most of us are gonna have to watch our language against with the 10-year-olds on the Switch.
Yeah. How?
Um,
Sorry, not to interrupt, but did they say
oh,
how that ult chat was gonna work? Because I know on PC you have the ult chat where you can just type to each other throughout the match. Are they implementing any sort of system, or is if because if you're a PC player and you're playing against a PS4 player, you in your Overwatch you would be able to type,
type,
but
yeah.
then the other person, because PS4 doesn't have that name, so I'm just interested to see how that's gonna work out. Are you just gonna be able to be like shit talked without like you can't shit talk back because you don't have something but they do, anything like that? I don't know if anything has come out about that. But that's just a scenario I'd be interested to sort of see play out.
I personally haven't heard anything one way or another. If I had to guess, it'll be one of two situations. Situation one, match chat or type chat in that way is completely disabled for a PC console mixed lobby. Option two, if it's a PC console mixed lobby, Blizzard will find a way to allow a console player to type.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it's going to be more likely the former
Yeah.
situation which will occur. But knowing Blizzard, it's going to be PC players able to shit talk the entire time, and console players just having to sit there and take it.
Honestly, I'd still be fine with that. You know, that would still be funny. I just probably, you know what? That's probably smarter because then you get a lot more people converting over to that Overwatch PC. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. Well, if that's what
No,
Blizzard
it's
is
just
going
Blizzard
for, you
big
know,
brain.
yeah, it's
Blizzard trying to big brain it.
just trying to move everyone. They're not a fan of console, but also think I believe and I'm no tech wizard, but I don't know how much DDoSing is going to be an issue for us on PS4, even though with the Xbox players, because I know it's a difficulty on Xbox because it's some form of Microsoft's like hardware and stuff is like more susceptible to those sort of attacks,
Mm-hmm.
while Sony, like specifically, like they have a lot of stuff to sort of stop certain things, like even
There's a lot
for
of firewalls and preventative
yeah,
measures. Oh
I mean,
yeah.
even for recording with like an Elgato or anything on, you have to turn off some of like the licensing settings on the PS4 so it doesn't like stop you from doing stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I know just in general that's also why I've sort of praised like Sony in general, is that they do have better sort of like I guess it's I don't know if that's the right term, but you know, just the general. I don't think DDoSing
It's,
will be happening as much as us PS4 players think it does, because it does happen a shit ton on Xbox. But I think it's actually like more of a hardware thing than like people who like to DDoS are just playing on Xbox for some reason and not on PS4. Like I do think it's just like some sort of hardware issue. But again, don't
I
quote me on
guess.
that. But that's just yeah,
All right,
my
set in
thoughts.
stone. Omega
All
said
right,
this
yes,
about DDoSing. All right.
put it there. Yep, in quotes.
All right, so you got the label of the title of this podcast. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so kind of moving off of that, we've already kind of touched on like SRs. I feel like it's gonna be interesting to see how it shapes up with being because it's gonna be three SRs systems now that no, I'm sorry, five total SRs
Oh.
and top 500 skills that they'll have for Blizzard now because you have the PC top 500. PS4 top 500, PS4 only top 500,
Oh.
Xbox only top 500, Switch only top 500, and then combined console top 500, or it'll be Switch top 300 or whatever it
Okay.
is, because they only go 300.
Yeah.
Then combined console top 500 is the way I understood it from frequently asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
You think, Omega, you think that's a good idea? You think we should just limit it to only the mixed console and the PC? What do you think? What do you think about Blizzard doing that?
I mean, if you're able to break it down like that, I honestly, it's a pretty boring answer. But yeah, I sort of agree. If that's like just the way to do it, and we can get more of a sort of a breakdown, I guess, of like how everything shapes up by console, and have those different, um, yeah, have those different divisions over the consoles and like SR. I think that's a great idea. I wouldn't want less. Like, I think, I mean, as a caster, and I know drunk as well. Like, you know, for the people who like statistics, I feel like, you know, that sort of, it makes the statistics easier to read, because you don't have to be like, oh, how do we stack up if it's just, because if you just had the PS4 only and the, you know, Xbox only, like how do those stack up against each other? So having all of these is obvious. Yeah, is just the best option just to look at, and then because all we want to do with those stats is just to compare us to the other side. So it would be kind of dumb if we didn't have sort of some way to do that with them having the combined console tier. You know.
Absolutely. There's be some problems come up with that, but I like it as you said, just with the number side, because this way it's like, all right, this is how I stack up against PS4 players. This is how I stack up against all console players. I also applaud Blizzard for making it so that's not PC intermingled with console players, because mouse and keyboard reaction time, there's just no way to compare it.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna be what it is, and aim on PC is naturally gonna be better than console, just with being able to precisely hit it with the mouse.
Exactly.
So, kind of branching off of that and going to our final segment here, before I get too far, having all these set SRs, how do you think that's going to impact leagues? Like, is it going to be, a PS4 only league, only taking into account a PS4 only SRs, or is it every league do you think to go into combined SRs across all consoles?
I think oh my god. I mean, yeah, we're about to go through a hell of an experiment with leagues. I think all leagues are gonna try to figure this question out. Personally, I think it'd probably be the best to go with the combined SR, just because I don't know if I have a good reason for it. It just seems like if you have all of the data combined, it's easier to see where like everyone truly stacks up, because if someone's, I guess, top 500 or like, I don't know, top 30 in PS4 but only top 500 on Xbox, and then they sort of even out, how do we rank that? Actually, now that I just said that out loud, it might just go off whatever peak you're on whatever console, now that I'm thinking about it, no matter what.
So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah, it'll go off top console. Sorry.
Okay, yep, makes sense. So for leagues though, such like let's say I'm playing, right? I'll use my exact SRs. Fun fact: if everyone wants to know how bad Fritz is at the game I'm about to say right now, right? So I'm a 2750 tank.
Okay.
Right now on PS4. If I go to mixed console, and let's say I place 3100, I really go have a great day.
Yeah.
And then I place Xbox, and I place, let's just say I'm just playing atrociously, and I place like 1800. If I go into a league that has mixed PS4 and Xbox players all together in a pool where it's not separated by console, because I know a lot of leagues now, just because I've been in enough league servers, to talk about having just one league. Would we go off of my Xbox SR, my PS4, or my combined SR? I feel in leagues such as that, where you combine everything together, you would focus on the combined SR. I think would be a decent solution.
I think. Oh man. I think at face value, I definitely do agree with that, and I can't think of something to refute it. But I feel like I guess it depends on how it would work, because what happens if someone is like 3700 and then like Xbox, they like just, not saying someone would do this, but someone goes out, buys an Xbox and places like 2000, and then we take their combined SR, and then they're able to play like in tier 3 rather than like only tier 4, which would be like their actual elo. I think that's probably what I'd be afraid of. Also, we would have to see how many people specifically are actually placed on both consoles. I don't know any of that, but I would, if they only place on one console, then obviously like this is an issue. So I think also just seeing how many people are actually placed, depending on who signs up for the league, and then from there, I still probably would try to look at the highest SR regardless of what console they played on, unless they specifically said, hey, I'm playing on my Xbox, I'm using an Xbox controller, like, and I can verify that, because like I don't think like elo because like it's a different controller, it's a different system. It's a different system. So like I would definitely say, if it's just your highest elo, that's your highest elo, unless you specifically say you're playing on your lower elo. Though the combined SR thing, as you said, because I've been rambling, but that might just clear that up entirely. To just
that's
make it
the
easier.
that that combined SR because it'll make it easier. But let's say especially these first couple seasons, because we all right, one season of combined SR data.
Mm.
I'm not going to say what console, but I predict that there's going to be people who are historically diamond players who legitimately might drop all the way down to high gold potentially,
Mm.
just because of stuff within the console system or being able to find a way to get used to it. And then like with everyone merging, you know, they might slide a decent ways. And
Yeah.
it'll be the same as with roll queue. In my opinion, the first couple seasons of roll queue, it was a normalization of the SR. And it was an SR correction occurred in seasons 18, 19, and 20 for a lot of people.
That's true.
Most of the time by 20 it was done, but like where people finally got locked into where their SR should be
Mm-hmm.
at that point. Because remember when it first came out, my support SR was like 300 SR above my tank SR, which I know should not be, but it was.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Since my tank SR is now 600 SR above my support SR.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, like, corrections occurred over time, and I've also gotten better at rolls over time, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think just saying that, then we probably, yeah, I think leagues, yeah, we probably would just go with that combined then overall at the end of the day.
I,
Yeah.
I'm excited because it's going to be an interesting debate that every league is going to have going forward, including the Tournament of Champions hosted by Alliance Pride Esports, which is set to come out sometime this July. Was I think our initial target date for releasing that.
That
Omega, you
was.
want to talk anything about it?
Yeah, I don't want to reveal too much because I feel like, again, whatever I say, I feel like being a spokesperson, I gotta sort of watch my mouth on what I reveal and can't reveal and can talk about, because I don't want to say anything that we can't promise or follow through on. But for LP, it's available to both all console. Well, once the July 1st, it will become available to all consoles. The tiers function pretty similarly to CGL. Um, the rulebook is fairly standard. I think the only thing that's different is I believe we have a license from Blizzard, so the tournament I think is able to be to be monetized. So again don't want to set anything in stone, but I wouldn't be surprised if when everyone hears about this, there may be some sort of prize pool announced for like the different tiers. Also, depending on how much LH merch, or LP merch we sell, also could fund the prize pool. So, um, but beyond that, available to all tiers, and it's really just going to be a standard league. We will, though, be pretty strict on the level of toxicity, banter, or not banter, but the level of toxicity and sort of BM that occurs that we've seen occur in other leagues that we're not entirely fans of. So we sort of want to cultivate how we cultivate Lionheart as sort of trying to be non-toxic and trying to be, I say the word wholesome, but not wholesome, but just not like, I don't know, shitty is sort of how I would describe some other. I've only been sorry. I'm sort of from the outside. I've only been in the community for about a year at this point through COVID. So from an outsider, some of the things I'm just like, I don't. That's just this sort of stuff doesn't seem like it would fly like in a real life sort of space. But it does online, which is okay. But just for us at Lions Pride Esports and me and and at the Tournament Champions, we just sort of want to cultivate a more healthier, accepting environment for gaming. Um, so we'll be cracking down on that. But beyond that, I think it's gonna be a pretty standard league. Yeah, we are looking, as you said, to start signups in around July, early August. Um, yeah, and that's about it. I don't think there's much other information.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Again, we don't want to say
Yeah.
anything that
Yeah.
Soul doesn't want to have put out.
Exactly. I'll get his
Soul
DM soon.
naturally, let's say Soul naturally is more than welcome to share his own things that he wants to share. I don't know. Soul's a pretty wholesome person. I feel like he wants a wholesome league at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I mean, yeah, for everyone who's part of LPE in general, like yeah, all of this is from Soul. All of the wholesomeness and all of the ideals that sort of we strive for, come from Soul. So of course, yeah, it's gonna be whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be as wholesome as him. So yeah.
So I think that just about wraps up everything that we had to discuss here today. Omega, any closing thoughts here for this podcast?
No, you're a good podcaster, man. You're a good interviewer. You got that skills from casting as well, and just from doing all those interviews, I can tell you got really solid, in-depth questions. As I said, you guys sort of just pulled me off the street. Normally, Zeddy will be the regularly scheduled co-host. But I enjoyed my time here. Thank you for bringing me in and having me on. I really enjoyed this. I'm ready for crossplay, 5v5, all of it. I'm just gonna I'm a gamer. Whatever you put in front of me, I'm gonna play. So that's that's about it. How'd you like being here, Fritz? Thanks for coming on, Fritz. I really appreciate it. How do you feel?
I just like talking. That's all it is. So, it's another opportunity for me to talk about something I love, which is Overwatch and changes and other developments inside of it. And, really gracious to Alliance Pride Esports and Soul Sword for allowing me to come here and co-host this. Again, unfortunately Zeddy was unable to make it today. Hopefully he's able to make it for our third episode of Alliance Pride Esports podcast. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Soul Sword's probably gonna have an intro, outro, or something playing. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm just gonna look like a fool. Thank you all for joining here for the podcast. I hope you all have a wonderful day.